attack, fast, fatal, hard impact, past painful scars. In fact, I blast tasteful bars and pass. I back up my actions, fact, don't ask, grab reactions, jacked, attack with every word, then act with class as they hear me snap. I got nothing to lose, cause I fought and felt the bruise. Now I'm not the one confused, call the shots and they produce. I ain't lost, I'm finally loose, pick a new silver excuse. I need the views to boost me to a new abuse of being used. Everybody wants a piece now, y'all can rest in peace now. You're dead to me, so peace out. Remember, you're discreet now. Get ready for defeat now.
Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kirusho here, and now. Whenever we last left off with this series, we had Deku. And quite a bit of things have happened. Now, before I do begin, if I am correct, Deku is in New York City. And that's going to be important going forwards, since I'm trying to remember exactly where I put him. With the whole Mutants Mansion, it can be anywhere. Anyways, now. Thanks to a fight between Deku and the Juggernaut, a lot of heroes got involved. Some heavy hitters faced off against the two, and ultimately it went down to mutants intervening, Jean, Rogue, and Nightcrawler. These three intervened to help the heroes somewhat get Deku on their side. And after the Hulk did comply and they all were able to take down the Juggernaut, this did pose a question. Many people had it. The heroes, they had it. The Hulk has been around, and he's caused quite a bit of havoc in his day. However, is he a good guy? That's what people are asking. Some people are calling the Hulk a villain. Some people are calling him a vigilante, and in a very, very scarce amount of people, they're calling him a hero. However, they're not going to admit that to the world. Now, Deku, he's still trying to come to terms with everything. It's been one entire day. And currently, he's sitting in his room. He's scrolling through the internet on a laptop. And he is just thinking about it. People, they don't know what it's like. Yesterday, someone just tried to take his life. And he's only alive thanks to a mixture of dumb luck and timing. It just doesn't make sense. Deku just thinking. He's gone over and looked at the equipment that was used. The bullet, the rifle, it mixed together. This rifle has enough firepower to blow a baseball-sized hole in a person. And whoever was firing it was going to aim for the back of Deku's head. In an instant, his life could have been ended, and he wouldn't even have been aware of it. He'd be dead before he even hit the ground or even moved an inch forwards. And it just does shake him. How are you supposed to just come to terms with that? How are you supposed to be okay with the fact that you're still alive thanks to that type of timing? It just doesn't make sense. From Deku's calculations, he stood up before the bullet was fired. And thanks to that, it was him who survived. And, ironically, the Hulk played a part in it. Deku actually going to bring his hand over his gut, as he does continue to scroll through with his other hands. And he does just think, as he does hear something outside. Now, Deku, he actually does stand up and walk over to the window, looking outside to see a man he does not recognize. However, he does see a few other things. Deku quickly turning and running towards the door, as he does head downstairs and outside. As there are the mutants, Wolverine, Xavier, Cyclops, and crap, what is his name again? Colossus, along with many more, Storm, and even Emma Frost. Now, they're all standing outside, and they're looking at this man. As whenever Deku does run outside and ask what's going on, a lot of people, they do turn their attention towards him. As you do have Deku, the scene he does currently see. Right now, Magneto is in front of the X-Men, and there's helicopters behind him. Deku, he also does turn and see. He does see Iron Man and Thor. They're both here, but that man with the red helmet, who is he? That being what Deku does think. As whenever Magneto does ask Charles to let him speak to the Hulk, this does send a shiver down Deku's spine, as Deku for a minute thinks that this man might be him, the guy who tried to kill him. And whenever Charles does inform him that he cannot allow that, because the Hulk is not here, it does somewhat annoy Magneto. And you do actually have where Iron Man and Thor, they do step forwards, informing Magneto that he has to leave, because he is not welcome on the premises. And the heroes, yeah, they're well aware as to what Magneto could do. Well, Iron Man came here today to talk to the boy and see if he can, well, get a few questions answered. There was Thor. He came here as a bit of insurance, or backup if you will, in case things went sideways. Which they seem like they might. Now, whenever Charles does hear Deku's voice, he did turn around and look at him, immediately using a psychic link to inform him to head back inside. As Deku, he does stand there somewhat frozen. And this is actually where other mutants they do come out. As the Teenage Mutants, or let's just call them the New Mutant Squad for right now, since I do like that name, they are all standing in the doorway behind Deku. Jean, Rogue, Nightcrawler, and a few other mutants, which I need to look back into this, since it's been a minute, and I'm trying to figure out what characters I may have actually aged up. Because I was going to say Kitty, but I think I aged her up in a couple parts before, but I'm not too sure. Anyways, back to the story. Now, they're all standing there, and Deku, he feels like he just walked into an active battlefield. Since there's the military behind Magneto, there's Magneto himself, there's the Avengers, and there's the mutants. And the situation, it could not get any worse. However, Magneto does open his mouth, asking who he would happen to be. My name? It's Izuku Midoriya. I see. And you must be him, aren't you? Deku confused, as does ask Magneto what he does mean. To which the man would explain. He's seen Deku's face before, and in fact, he's had people look into him before. He's had people look into incidents about the Hulk. And he does have a few unlikely allies who know him. And this does cause some concern for Deku. As Magneto, he does continue on, asking the young man if people treat him badly. If people, they view him as a monster. And Deku, he does answer yes to these questions, as he does at least go on to explain. People do that, but he has friends here. People he trusts here. That's why he likes it here. And Magneto, he does look at Deku, informing him that there are people beyond these gates who see him as such, and many of them would rather prefer it if he was dead. And this actually does cause some anger to build in Deku, as Deku does ask if he's the man who tried to kill him, to which Magneto does look at him somewhat confused, turning his head, explaining that no, he was not. He was not aware of such incidents, and this would even give him a bit more leeway, informing Deku that that is such proof. People will not let him live his life because they believe he himself is an abomination. And Deku, he does stare at the man, as does ask if the man he's talking about, who is he? Who knows him? To which Magneto somewhat does smile, informing Izuku that the man he's talking about would be his very uncle, he is alive. And this actually has caused Charles to speak up, trying to inform him to be quiet about this. And Magneto does turn back to Charles, as he does go to bring up his hand, and Charles in his chair just begins to somewhat levitate up. As Wolverine and the other mutants, they do somewhat get a bit more on the defensive. As Magneto, he does then spin Charles around towards Deku, and Deku does look back towards Charles. As Deku asks him what he's talking about, his uncle still hasn't returned from the snap, or the disappearance. Hasn't he? Now, this does cause Charles to somewhat look away. He hasn't been entirely honest with Izuku about what happened to his family. And right now, it does make Deku somewhat question it. He knows Charles is hiding something now. And this is bad. As Deku, he does step forwards. And Magneto, he actually does see as veins to start popping off of Deku's arms. You can tell he's getting angry, but you can also tell he's holding back. The pigmentation of his skin is changing, but he's not growing. As there actually is whenever Jean just comes running up behind Deku, her grabbing onto him as she's going to bring up one of her hands, trying to grab Charles away from Magneto. Now, Deku, he does turn for a second, his focus turning to Jean as he does somewhat calm down. And Magneto, he does look back towards Izuku, as he does inform him. What he's going to say next is going to need to be met with a lot of calm and some clear-headedness. And Deku, he does wait. He's been trying to reconnect with his family for years. He's been waiting to find them. He's been worried. His cousin, she's an adult now. And he thought his grandfather and uncle died. They were still gone. But they're both alive? And Deku, he does wait. As Magneto, he does explain to Izuku. His grandfather. He was a great man. He was a great mutant. And the people that are trying to protect Izuku, they know what happened to him. They know all too well. And so does he, because he was there when Deku's grandfather died. And Deku, he does hear those words, as he actually just stared on with his eyes wide. And this is actually where Iron Man and Thor do somewhat begin to intervene. As Iron Man, he does quickly leap forwards, him rushing towards Izuku as he does get ready. He needs to try to calm the kid down. And you do actually have Jean, who, whenever she did see Deku actually have his eyes widen, he fell forwards onto his knees, as he went to go grab away at his heart. As that did happen, you do have Thor, who he does spin and go to throw his hammer towards Magneto. He knows for a fact that this man, he himself is now a problem. And the mutants, they themselves, do get ready. They go from turning away from Magneto to some turning towards Deku. Meanwhile, we do have Jean. She is staying there next to Izuku, and she actually does go to try to bring herself down to Deku's level and go to grab at his face. As Deku is trying to just look around, panicking, and somewhat starting to lose a bit of control. Deku doesn't know what to do. His mind feels scattered, and right now so does the Hulk's. Both of the two are lost. Deku, he's trying to come to terms with that second thought in his head, and the amount of stress that's been building up. As Deku, he does look towards Jean as she is going to grab him, and make Deku look right into her eye, trying to tell him to stay calm, and to not lose it. As she's doing that, you do actually have Tony, who, whenever he does rush, and he does tell Izuku, he can knock him out right now. and that he thinks that that would be for the best, as he is going to bring up his hand. And Deku, he does look towards Tony. As Tony, he doesn't move his hand. And Deku, he does look towards him, as he does see fear in his eyes. And Tony has asked Izuku if he thinks he would, Deku saying yes, as his voice comes out a bit more like the Hulk's. And this is where Tony does actually spray something in his face. And Deku does actually somewhat fall forwards into Jean's arms, losing consciousness. As that does happen, you do actually have where something happens with Magneto. And after he does get away, he does return to where he was hiding. Now, we do have Deku, who a few hours later he does wake up. The moment he does wake up, he does somewhat lean upwards, thinking for a minute. What happened? Where is he? And we do actually have where Jean does walk into the room with Tony Stark. Now, Deku looks at this confused, as Tony's not wearing his armor. And Deku just stares at him. You're Tony Stark. Hmm? Yes, I am. Now, I wish to speak to you, young man. And this is all going to be fairly complicated. Some of it you might not want to hear. And some of it is actually important. Now, would I be able to go on, or are you still processing everything? Deku thinking about that word. I just somewhat go to think for a minute. Him looking around, or looking down, his eyes do dart around. Now, whenever Deku he actually does have a look of realization on his face, Tony does start talking, informing him that what he heard was correct. Deku's grandfather is dead. And Deku he does just look at him. He does get angry. But other than Deku getting angry, he doesn't do anything else. As whenever Deku does go to look down at his hand, it's not turning green. He does see the veins, but this does cause him to look at his other arm, as he does see an IV put inside of it. And this does cause Deku to ask the question, what did he put inside of him? To which Tony does inform him. Actually, it's quite simple. It's something to slow down his heart rate. The more Deku's body is able to maintain a belief that it's calm, the easier it is. And in fact, the substance he is using is just basic morphine. And Deku he does calm down at that, as he does then inform him. Deku's grandfather, after the snap happened, he himself may or may not have turned evil. And this does confuse Deku, as Tony does inform him. Whenever people lost their powers, and mutants still remained, they quickly found out about them. Children who had powers, who were thought to be people with quirks, they themselves were looked down on. They were seen as freaks. People lost their powers all within the span of one single week. And the moment mutants were revealed, people were afraid. They didn't have the idea of, oh, it's totally normal anymore. They had to get accustomed to this. And Deku's grandfather, he was a man who tried to advocate for mutants, try to roll into this idea that they are still normal. However, thanks to the loss of quirks, people didn't see it that way. People saw it as their gifts and their powers were taken from them. And these people who are able to keep their own, they themselves are freaks. People lashed out and were hateful because of jealousy and or fear. And this actually has caused Deku to think. What Tony is saying does make sense. However, there's the next few words that he does say. He partnered with Magneto to try and become a mutant advocate, Charles was on board for what they were doing, up until things got violent. And mutants, they were trying to force their ways onto others. They weren't just trying to become part of society with humans. They were trying to dominate society. And if he does have to put it into words, rule the world. Whenever they had plans for world domination, where mutants can rule over nations and could be seen as gods, portrayed as them even, this was where Charles had enough. And he doesn't know exactly himself the details behind it. But it's been confirmed Deku's grandfather is indeed dead, and his uncle is still alive. And this does annoy Deku. He doesn't know. He doesn't get it now. And Deku's eyes are still filled with rage. And Tony can see that. His eyes are glowing green, more than before. However, they're not just the color green. They're radiating that color. And Tony does ask Izuku if he would mind if he has a blood sample. Why? You can do tests on me? Young man, I'm quite curious to know how your power works. In fact, we came here today to offer you some help. Help? After what you just told me, people are trying to kill me. People hate mutants, and you expect me to believe you? Because you're just human? I know. That's why I became Iron Man in the first place. Deku turning his head. I became Iron Man to show people, even without power, you can still work as a hero. You can still do things normal people might not be capable of. In fact, I also do have one request. From what I understand from talking to some people, you yourself are good with technology and engineering, correct? Hmm? Uh, well, I mean, I know a few things, but nothing really advanced. I can work on a car at a good level, and I mean, I just, I just don't want to talk about that. You just got my head all confused. I understand, but the reason why I'm asking you is because I would like you to help me build a Hulkbuster. What? What's a Hulkbuster? Exactly what it sounds like, young man. A contingency plan. A Deus Ex Machina, if you will. It will allow me to fight the Incredible Hulk, as if he ever goes crazy. Deku looking at Tony. The Incredible Hulk? Hmm? Yes. It's an incredible feat that you fought the Juggernaut in single combat. So I thought it was fitting. Or I could just simply call this Project Hulk, if you will. So, I want to know strength, feats, powers, if you'd be willing to share. Otherwise, I'm just gonna have to use my own basic formulas for it. Even then, I'm willing to help you out, young man. Give you enough money to send you to a college in engineering and get on your own path, if you will. Deku looking at Tony surprised. As Tony, he knows right now, keeping the boy calm, keeping him collective, and trying to show that he's being friendly and even helpful to him, it can give him a good relationship with Deku. As Deku, he does try to think. He is willing to learn about technology. With Tony Stark, this guy's the future. And it does make Deku somewhat think. Meanwhile, he does look at Jean. She does stare at him. And she does show that she herself doesn't trust him. And Deku, he does turn to her and then look back at Tony, asking for some time to think about it. Hmm? Of course, of course. Him actually going to hold an envelope and informing him that if he ever does accept his offer, there's a check in here and a cell phone with his number. All he has to do is write the amount down and give him a phone call. Whenever those requirements are met, the two can go from there. Now, he does give Deku a bit of extra details. However, he does go to leave. And Deku he does turn towards Jean after going to remove this thing from his arm. So, uh, yeah. Are you okay? I I don't know, really. I just I was almost killed. I found out my family is around, my uncle at least, and my grandpa died. I don't I don't know. Really, it just feels like a nightmare. I know what you mean. Deku turning his head. As Jean, she does at least say that she knows what he's going through. She lost her parents before. And it is all crazy. And Deku, he does stare at her. She seems so shy and timid. But she jumps in to help him. She jumped in to prevent the Hulk from hurting heroes, people. And she kept him calm. Had Deku turned into the Hulk earlier, there's no telling what could have happened. The government's after mutants. The heroes, they're still trying to understand things. And regular people, they hate them. Really, what are they gonna do? They're backed into a corner. And it's all bad on each side. There's a gun pointed at their head. And they don't know which is worse. Who might be holding it, or what it might do. Now, Deku he does look at Jean. As the two they do begin to talk. Deku he does learn a bit more. And he even does ask her opinion on Tony Stark. And she does express it. The guy, he does have some good points. The idea of the Hulk going berserk and being unstoppable, it's bad. And while there are some heroes around who can stop him, they might not always be around. But Tony Stark having a Hulkbuster, as he called it, she doesn't know. Him having one already shows some distrust, doesn't it? I mean, maybe, but still. It shows that he's got a plan. Does it? Aren't you worried about it? He's asking you to build a weapon to destroy you. I don't see it as that. He's asking for a weapon that can hurt and actually take down the Hulk if he loses it. Now, Deku does explain. He can barely control the Hulk. He can aim him, and that's it. He can't judge his actions. He can't manipulate them. He can't change them. If the Hulk kills somebody, that's on him. And if they can even stop him for a minute, stop him for one or two times, he's willing to help build a weapon like that. And this does cause Jean to actually somewhat open up. And explain that it just makes her worry about him. And Deku just turns his head looking at her. As he does see her. She does seem shy. And Deku, he does explain. As he does go to reach out his hands and pull her into a hug. That he's going to be okay. He'll always come back. Since the Hulk, from what he understands, he can't die. And this does cause Jean to look at Deku surprised. As Deku does try to explain. From what he's understanding about his powers, the Hulk is involved. As long as he is Deku, he might as well be immortal. The healing factor, the strength, and the durability. He'll always be here. And if he's not, the Hulk will be here to protect her. And Jean, she actually does somewhat look up towards Deku. As Deku, he does look down at her. And he does think for a minute. Should he? They're both friends. They've been through a lot together and they're very close to each other. Deku's heart is pounding. He doesn't know what to do. As Jean, she does actually go to lean up a bit more and kiss him. Deku just, for a minute, this rage he felt building up, it does calm down. For a second, he just forgets about it all and feels like everything's okay. Since right now, he needs it. Otherwise, he might go insane. Now, with that being said, after Jean does pull away, she does go to someone, bring herself backwards, and go to stand up, telling him that she's going to go get him some water since he might be dehydrated or maybe he's thirsty. And she just quickly go to walk away. And Deku, he just sit there thinking, did they just, did he really just, did she, Deku, he just sit there with a smile. While everything he's learned is bad, there does seem to be some good. However, Deku's smile does quickly fade, as he does look over towards the envelope, thinking, Tony Stark, building a Hulkbuster. These ideas all do seem good. They all seem plausible. They all do seem concrete. However, Deku, his thoughts are interrupted by a voice. As Deku, he does turn his head and see the Hulk standing next to him, or next to the bed. As Hulk does ask if he is really going to do it. Of course I am. Really. Puny Izuku. Really want to hurt Hulk. Hulk, you're unstoppable. If you ever get angry enough, you can kill people. You'll hurt people. And fact is, I don't know if I can trust you. The fact is, you're angry. Whenever you get like that, I can hardly feel myself in my own head, let alone in my own body. You saved my life. I get that. But for trusting you, I don't know if I'll ever be able to do that. You're a monster. And if I can stop you from killing people, from hurting people, I don't care if you hate me. Now, the Hulk does grit his teeth, as he does just disappear. He knows that trying to convince Deku to trust him is pointless now. And Deku, while what he may have done is bad, it is also somewhat good. The good is that he can stop the Hulk by helping Tony Stark. The bad is, he may have just worsened his relationship with the big green monster. Now, with that being said, I do believe that is a good point to leave this what if off of. And I do hope you guys enjoyed. And have an amazing day.